Good morning. That was our accompanist, Whittaker Locke, playing hymn 1051, We Are, in the Singing the Living Tradition hymn book. And that was in honor of this being Hanukkah. Welcome to the live Zoom version of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, an inclusive religious community of people supporting each other in the search for truth and meaning. I'm Rick Spradlin, your service leader for today. And now time for our morning announcements. We have this from Susan Stevenson, the chair of our Social Action Committee. She writes, "These are truly desperate times for many people. Despite the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, our current congressional and Senate representatives are allowing critical help for low and middle income income people to expire. The needs of small business are being similarly ignored. You and I, even all of us in this fellowship, cannot save the world, but each of us can do something, however small. That something small may make a huge difference for one individual here in the Chattahoochee Valley. I urge everyone who can join me in making financial contributions, however small, to Feeding the Valley or stopping by our fellowship to drop off socks, underwear, t-shirts, small tarps, etc., into one of the boxes sitting on the porch of Grace Hall for the Homeless Resource Network. And if you need help, please let me know. We are a fellowship." Susan Stevenson, chair of the Social Action Committee. Also, by way of announcements, I will have the Sunday program. I'll have the program next Sunday where the topic will be something related to Christmas, something that I'm still working on, something that I'm sure will hit me within the next week, maybe even 10 minutes before the program. I don't know. Hopefully I will have something up and ready to go. And now we will light the chalice. I was going to have my grandson help me, but it looks like Karen has run off and I don't see Ellis anymore. Crap. Okay. So the chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It speaks to us of reason, tolerance, and freedom, and also of compassion, respect, and love. May its flame ever warm and illuminate our lives. And there we go. And now let us once again affirm the 7 principles which sum up the core values that Unitarian Universalist congregations support and promote. Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Number 3, the acceptance of one another and the encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Number 4, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process in our congregations and in society at large. Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And number 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And now one of the ways we proclaim the vitality of our fellowship is through sharing brief and personal joys and concerns. So let me scroll down here. Let me check the chat and see if we've had any joys or concerns come in. I do not see one at the moment. I'll give y'all a little time if anyone wants to go into the chat, if y'all want to drop in any joys or concerns. It's a joy to me that we have our grandson with us here today. Our family, we don't venture out much with other groups of people other than the ones that we have to for work. But Ellis is here with us for a few minutes while her mama goes Christmas shopping. Okay. If you have, it's a joy to see everyone. It's a joy to see Goldie. Please welcome her. Okay, welcome, Goldie. Did see that one. All right. If you have any joys or concerns that you would like to be shared, please email those during the week to our president, Hal Majette, or to our office administrator, Brenda Stevens, at uufcga@gmail.com. And now for our celebration of life toast. If you have something to drink, you can use that or just toast with me in spirit, as I'll be doing. We celebrate life. We celebrate life with its beauty and its pain. We lift these cups in tribute to the achievements of human minds and hands and in sensitivity to the frustrations of misfortune and heartache. Not fixing blame or credit for the outcome of chance, sensing the risk, savoring the joy, sharing it all. Knowing of the certainty of death and remembering the value of each moment, we drink our toast of celebration to this time, to the future, to each other, to the throbbing of the earth and sea and sky with life. Together, we drink this toast in celebration of life. And now for our offering. If you'd like to contribute, you can mail your contribution to UU Fellowship of Columbus, Box 698, Fortson, Georgia 31808. We have a PayPal account set up as well. If you check your chat box at the bottom, you should find the written address that I just read out. And now Whittaker will play As the World Slept by Daniel Smith. And now for a reading from one of our members, Danielle Smith, who just made a 19-hour drive to Pennsylvania with her husband and children as they moved their family, got out of the car, and then made this recording for us. Now, she will also be delivering our program December 27th. So thank you, Danielle, for going above and beyond the call of duty.
Thank you for joining me in my house in Pennsylvania. I hope you're having a really great day. Today, I would like to share with you a passage from Carl Sagan in his book, The Demon-Haunted World: Science as a Candle in the Dark. Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. When we recognize our place in an immensity of light years and in the passage of ages, when we grasp the intricacy, beauty, and subtlety of life, then that soaring feeling, that sense of elation and humility combined is surely spiritual. So are our emotions in the presence of great art or music or literature or acts of exemplary selfless courage, such as those of Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. The notion that science and spirituality are somehow mutually exclusive does a disservice to both. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Now I'm going to go unpack my house.
And I want to apologize to Danielle Neale for not pronouncing her name right. My wife just happened to walk through at the time I said that. I would love to blame that on a technical error, but I can't. It's just me. And I did take my Prevagen this morning, so I don't know why my head is still not clear. Now, as to the Zoom difficulties, I think maybe if we all sacrifice a couple of 9-volt batteries, maybe we will appease the Zoom gods. I don't know. Maybe that'll work. We can give it a try. Now, for my talk this morning, I'd like to talk about what Buddhism has in common with science. So, to begin with, I should point out that Buddhism, of course, is a major global religion with a complex history and system of beliefs. It's been around for 2,500 years, and like any religion that's been along that long, it no longer exists as a single unified religion, but as a family of religions, a sort of an umbrella of religions, if you will, of different denominations that all have their beginning with Prince Siddhartha of India. Now, over the years, there have been some who have described Buddhism as rational and non-dogmatic, and there is some evidence that that has continued to be the case from the earliest period of its history. There are also some who have suggested that this rational aspect is more common in the modern interpretations. I could be making a grave and unforgivable error in trying to speak about a faith with such a varied tradition as if all Buddhists thought alike and taught from the single coherent scripture or philosophical position. And while there have been examples of dogmatism, fundamentalism, and the belief in the supernatural in other forms of Buddhism, for today's purpose, I'll be sticking more to the Tibetan tradition, and I will limit myself to the 3 universal truths, which can be found in all the traditions, because I have to admit that my overall knowledge of Buddhism is very limited. So let's begin with the 3 universal truths. Number 1, nothing is lost in the universe. Matter turns into energy, energy turns into matter, a dead leaf turns into soil, a seed sprouts and becomes a new plant. Our solar systems disintegrate and turn into cosmic rays. We are born of our parents, our children are born of us. We are the same as plants, as trees, as other people, as the rain that falls. We consist of that which is around us. We are the same as everything. If we destroy something around us, we destroy ourselves. If we cheat another, we cheat ourselves. So here we see a parallel with the first law of thermodynamics. Energy can be changed from one form to another, but it cannot be created or destroyed. The total amount of energy and matter in the universe remains constant, merely changing from one form to another. Second universal truth in Buddhism is that everything changes. That is, everything is continuously changing. Life is like a river flowing on and on, ever changing. Sometimes it flows slowly and sometimes swiftly. It's smooth and gentle in some places, but later on, snags and rocks crop up out of nowhere. As soon as we think we're safe, something unexpected happens. So here we see an echo of the second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, which states that the energy of the universe is in a state of degradation. Everything trends towards disorder. The third truth is the law of cause and effect. So the third universal truth explained by the Buddha is that there is continuous changes due to that law of cause and effect. It's the same law of cause and effect found in a modern science textbook. In Buddhism, as well as Hinduism, the law of cause and effect is known as karma. Nothing ever happens to us unless we deserve it. We receive exactly what we earn, whether it's good or bad. We are the way we are now due to the things we have done in the past. Our thoughts and actions determine the kind of life that we live. If we do good things, in the future, good things will happen to us. If we do bad things, in the future, bad things will happen. Every moment we create new karma by what we do, say, or think. And we understand this, we do not need to fear karma. It becomes our friend. It teaches us to create a bright future. The Buddha said, "The kind of seed sown will produce that kind of fruit. Those who do good will reap good results. Those who do evil will reap evil results. If you carefully plant a good seed, you will joyfully gather good fruit." More than most other traditions, Tibetan Buddhism has been very open to scientific discoveries. Chris Impey, the professor of astronomy at the University of Arizona, has been teaching Tibetan monks and nuns for over a decade. He says that he's found them to be highly receptive to science as a way of understanding the natural world. The program he teaches started in response to the Dalai Lama's desire to inject science into the training of Buddhist monastics. He teaches them cosmology. The first major use of Buddhist teachings in Western scholarly writings comes in the form of Arthur Schopenhauer, the German philosopher, mostly because his first writings came out at the same time that the first translations of the Hindu and Buddhist texts began to appear. He took note of the language and the visual references used in the German translations of these texts as he wrote, "To live is to will, and to will is to participate in the anxious, exhausting, and endless Darwinian struggle that only the fittest survive. The pleasures of achieving a goal are neither fleeting or non-existent, or either fleeting or non-existent. And once achieved, we must rush on to the next goal in order to escape the ever-present threat of boredom. Life is a treadmill. The wheel of Axion never stands still. But this is a game that we do not have to play. We can withdraw from the life of willing into a life of contemplation, a withdrawal from which the enlightened will complete itself in easeful death." Like Socrates, Schopenhauer's philosophy is a kind of preparation for death. Death for Schopenhauer is like nirvana for the Buddhist, the escape from suffering. Now, some like to refer to Schopenhauer as Europe's first Buddhist, except that for the Buddhist, suffering is caused by our own desires and can be ceased through enlightenment. Nirvana can be achieved by the living, and suffering is not a necessity of life, but it's a side effect of ignorance. While Schopenhauer considered suffering as an inescapable part of nature, he wrote that progress is a delusion. Life is, was, and always will be suffering. The ceaseless efforts to banish suffering achieve nothing but a change in its form. 50 years before Darwin, Schopenhauer observed that nature's economy is conserved through overpopulation. It produces enough antelopes to perpetuate the species, but also a surplus to feed the lions. It follows, he says, that fear, pain, and death are not isolated malfunctions of a greatly benevolent order, but are inseparable from the means by which the natural ecosystem preserves itself. If we look past the theological aspects of Buddhism, we find certain commonalities between Buddhism and science, namely the suspicion of absolutes and a reliance on causality and empiricism. Buddhism and science are considered by some to be uniquely compatible to science, especially when you consider that among the key aspects of Buddhism, we find insistence that knowledge must be gained through personal experience, rather than reliance on the authority of sacred texts or the teachings of avowed masters. Because Buddhism's orientation is empirical rather than theoretical, and because it rejects any conception of absolutes. There are also some who try to connect it to modern theories of evolution, quantum theory, and cosmology, though most scientists see a separation between the religious and metaphysical statements of Buddhism and the methodology of science. Notable scientists who have drawn parallels to Buddhism include Niels Bohr, who developed the Bohr model of the atom, who said, "For a parallel to the lesson of atomic theory, we must turn to those kinds of problems for which already thinkers like the Buddha and Lao Tzu have been confronted, when trying to harmonize our position as spectators and actors in the great drama of existence." Nobel Prize-winning philosopher Bertrand Russell described Buddhism in this way: "Buddhism is a combination of both speculative and scientific philosophy. It advocates the scientific method in such a way as to be called rationalistic. In it are to be found answers to such questions of interest as what is mind and matter? Of them, which is the greater importance? Is the universe moving towards a goal? What is man's position? Is there living that is noble? It takes up where science cannot lead because of the limitation of science instruments. Its conquests are those of the mind." The American physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer made an analogy to Buddhism when describing the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. He wrote, "If we ask whether the position of the electron remains the same, we must say no. If we ask whether the electron's position changes with time, we must say no. If we ask whether the electron is at rest, we must say no. And if we ask whether it is in motion, we also must say no. The Buddha has given such answers when interrogated as to conditions of man's self after his death, but they are not familiar answers for the traditions of science." End of quote. So here we see that for this quote that he believes science must learn from Buddhism to accept that some truthful answers are just not very satisfying. Now, I'll close with a quote from Nobel Prize-winning physicist Albert Einstein. When he described Buddhism as containing a strong cosmic element, he wrote, "There is found a third level of religious experience, which, if it is seldom found in a pure form, I will call it the cosmic religious sense. This is hard to make clear to those who do not experience it, since it does not involve an anthropomorphic idea of God. The individual feels the vanity of human desires and aims, and the nobility and marvelous wonder which are revealed in nature and in the world of thought. He feels the individual destiny as an imprisonment and seeks to experience the totality of existence as a unity full of significance. Indications of this cosmic religious sense can be found even on earlier levels of development, for example, in the Psalms of David and in the prophets. The cosmic element is much stronger in Buddhism, as Schopenhauer's magnificent essays have shown us. The religious geniuses of all times have been distinguished by this cosmic religious sense, which recognizes neither dogmas nor God made in man's image. Consequently, there cannot be a church whose chief doctrines are based on the cosmic religious experience. It comes about, therefore, that we find precisely among the heretics of all ages men who are inspired by this highest religious experience. Often they are appeared to their contemporaries as atheists, but sometimes also as saints. And thank you for listening. And now, before we extinguish the chalice, please remember to stay on for virtual coffee and conversation after our closing hymn. We extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts as we leave this place. Now, after our closing words, Whittaker will close us out, and remember to stay on for coffee and conversation afterwards. Now, for our closing words. With unity of spirit, we go our ways in universal fellowship until we meet again. So long.